Well, hello, Christian Metal Group. Here we're back again to do an awesome interview. My name is Jimmy Searles with the admins.
Yo, and I'm Jay Goodwin, aka Joel, and
That's right.
I'm one of I'm one of the moderators, and of course, together we are on the leadership team. That's kind of what I say of the Christian Metal Group. Yo,
That's right. It's been a
great.
long, fun journey. And
Mhm.
so we have Nate and Alex here from the band Saved by Skarlet. So appreciate y'all jumping on here. Who
You're very
wants to
welcome.
just tell us a little bit about? Well, let's start with this question: did you grow up in a musical home, and did you grow up in a religious home?
Oh, this is going to be a funny, interesting contrast between me and Alex's stories.
Good, good.
All right.
Yeah, you
So,
first. Go for it. Let's go.
so as far as me, Nate, great to see everybody. Well, I guess I can't see the watcher. It's great to see you guys. Um, so Siva, my past kind of stems in a very interesting way, in a way that not a lot of people would think, because I've been obsessed with music for about 15 years now. Um, Growing up, I was not brought up in a very musical home. I didn't sing. I was pretty timid. My parents rarely sang, once in a while. But we didn't listen to music really on like TV and stuff like that, you know. And then right around the age of 10 years old, my mom started to try and get us into some music because she was very musically talented. She would sing and play acoustic guitar. Um, Once in a while. So she tried to encourage us, you know, and so she actually went out and bought surprised us with a drum set.
Nice.
And if I'm being totally honest, I did not like it at first. But the reason was because the drum heads weren't tuned, and it was also very loud in the type of room that I tried it out in. So I wasn't into that, you know. I tried watching a couple of videos, just wasn't my thing. Then I started to kind of get into Coldplay and a couple of other light rock bands.
Interesting.
Dude, something changed, man. Within a couple of years after that, I was about 12. I was in Morningstar Bookstore and I came across Comatose album by Skillet.
Oh wow.
Oh man, it was like a whole world opened up that I had never known existed. You know, I had never listened to rock music, hard rock, metal, none of that.
Mhm.
I listened to Comatose and I was like, wow, I love this. I want more of this. And so I just, from then on, through a whole bunch of different things that happened, I ended up getting gifted an electric guitar, which was a dream come true for me, a literal dream come true. Um, a woman prophesied over me saying that she knew nothing about me and never met me in my entire life. And I didn't like music really at the time. And she prophesied over me and said that in the future I would play in front of thousands of people, and that she saw notes going over a stadium of people, and that every time the notes traveled over someone's head, it would drop into their spirit and change their heart. It was like,
That's
it was like
dope.
for me, because I was like
That's
this
amazing.
Hmm.
mind. And I was like, that can't be me. I was like, there's no way. I genuinely believe some people will be like, oh, yeah, that just led me to end up being a musician, yada, yada. That was not the case for me. It had to be God, because that was not me. Like, it was totally not me. And then years passed, ended up getting an electric guitar given to me. Just absolutely started playing the heck out of guitar, drums, you name it. Became worked my finger to the bone on that guitar, started singing, and it just blew up.
Wow, that's awesome.
Had to go through a lot of hell though.
Yeah.
This was my best friend slash cousin and neighbor. He was all three in one. He actually got hit by a truck next to my house and died on impact.
Oh my gosh.
Really hard to come out of that, through that trauma.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Alex?
So as far as me, the household that I grew up in was very Catholic.
Hmm.
It was Catholic to begin with, and then I started branching out a little bit more. It didn't take me Like I grew up institutions, stuff like that. So um and I ran with a very rough crowd at the time. So it took me a while. I think I've fully been a Christian for only 5 years.
Okay.
But a lot of my upbringing with music, my mother's side of the family wasn't very musically inclined. They wouldn't really have anything to do with music. I got um but I managed to get a guitar from my grandfather at 9 years old. Now, my dad's side of the family, very musically inclined, very a lot of rock and roll, like classic rock and roll,
Hmm.
a lot of blues, things of that nature. And so I grew up listening to a lot of well, even some older style country, like Tom Petty, Johnny Cash, Jackson Brown, and I'd go from there. And from there, I had a friend who, when I was in my teen years, ended up showing me a few metal bands like Avenged Sevenfold,
Oh yeah.
Slipknot. So Avenged Sevenfold, Sinister Gates is actually one of the reasons what actually inspired me to pick up a guitar in the first
Okay.
place. And and then I think shortly after that I heard Skillet for the first time, Monster.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it slowly kind of started from there. I started like I can't read music. I can't read music or tabs or anything like that.
Hmm.
Everything I do specifically is by ear.
Yeah.
But it took years for me to learn how to do that.
Hmm.
Um and from there I also play everyone in the band like plays multiple instruments. Like I play Nate just said, he plays guitar, he plays drums, he sings, he plays a little bit of bass too, but so does everybody else in the band, which is really fun and really helpful.
Sure.
um as far as you know my music tastes and being able to play, like I taught myself how to play at a very very young age. And my music influence goes from as far as you know newer metal like Memphis Mayfire,
Hmm.
all the way down to All That Remains, all
Yeah.
the way from Tom Petty, Jackson Brown, BB King,
Hmm.
Nice.
um The Who.
Yeah.
Who?
Oh, The Who, huh?
Who, what, when, where, why?
That's awesome, man.
It was a long journey with music, and
Yeah.
it took and just being in the band in general. The story is fairly long, but like I'm just gonna put it this way: God paved the bricks in order for me to like be in this band, and I've
Yeah,
already. Oh man, it was a long process. Like I after running into him for like what was it, 3 years in the making, like hardly knowing you, but running into you for
yeah,
like the past 3 years,
yeah. You
and
could
I
actually,
was already oh,
you
sorry
could
about that.
actually after I leave Alex because of my work, so I have to leave at 8. But feel free to share more of that. Maybe in a little bit if you want.
Hmm.
Yeah. So who does what? Of course, all you all play multiple things and do multiple things in the band, but overall, like say you're having a rehearsal, who's doing what?
So our typical like we're performing a show. I'll do lead vocals slash screams,
Mhm.
um, and I'll feature on guitar for one song because I love guitar. And then Alex, I think we already mentioned Alex is guitar too,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
lead guitar.
So I do guitar too. So I do a lot of rhythm and I do a lot of semi leads
Hmm.
here and there,
And
and I also back him on backup vocals and harsh vocals as well. There's also songs that I compliment him on where there's like one or two songs where he'll be on guitar and I'll have the main mic and I get to run around the stage like a crazy
Yeah.
person.
Mhm.
There we go. There we go. Cool. So as a band, how would you classify yourself genre wise, or should I say subgenre wise?
ah, I'm gonna take this one just because I actually have been like actually delving deep into figuring out terminology.
See, that's the thing. You can't really it's hard. It's very hard to put us in one category because we have so many different styles and influences based into Saved by Scarlet. Saved by Scarlet isn't just one. It's hard to really describe. It's not just one genre.
Mhm.
So what it is ultimately is our genre is hard rock with a creative blend of metalcore and gent and
Mhm.
occasional
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
And
That's yeah,
an occasional what?
ballads.
Okay,
it's
nice.
balance because you
Oh,
So,
can't.
so
Yeah,
what's a
it's gent, it's gent
give
and
give?
balance. That's all we need. That's
Yeah, so it sounds like fans will be getting a little variety of stuff, and that's good. But it is hard music, and that's what we like.
yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
that's right. Well, give us a brief overview, like who formed the band, how did it kind of start, and then where did the name come from? Just real brief.
Take it away, Nate.
all right, so I'm gonna say this kind of I'm gonna encapsulate it pretty quickly. So the band essentially started with my brother and I. We started as a three-piece with one other person, and it continued as a three-piece band for years. We essentially started that in 2012, and it was a Flyleaf and Evanescence and Skillet cover band.
Oh, interesting.
So there we started writing
That's
our own.
interesting.
Um, a lot of our friends started hiring us for birthday parties and stuff.
Mhm.
That's really how we kind of got the wheels turning and gripping, and then we started launching forward after doing that. So it was received pretty well. We actually had a female vocalist, my ex-girlfriend Dominique, as well. And then we moved forward from there. We kind of changed our style. I became like a male vocalist lead, and we got heavier. We want to do kind of heavier music. So yeah, from there we just launched. But the way that the band name came about was when it was just my brother and I, and we had actually asked our drummer to leave politely. He had other stuff going on in life, and he had a different music taste and stuff. So he left. So it was just my brother and I, and we were just kind of really asking God, like, God, we want this to be like this name. We know that you think highly of names, and names are important. We want this name to be glorifying to you, but also sound cool. So I ended up that night reading my Bible, which I wish I read my Bible more, but I really didn't read it all that often. I usually would look at devotionals or read like books or like my phone app. That was actually in the physical Bible. And I came across the story of Joshua, in which Rahab protected the prophets that were fleeing in the city um, of Jericho. And so they were fleeing. They dove into her room. They said, "Please, will you hide us? We're men of God. We're being, chased." So Rahab, who was a prostitute and would be considered, someone who was definitely not Christian, um, and not really a God-fearing person, but despite like the type of person that she was, she had to make a decision at that moment, and she made a really good decision. She decided to hide them. Something changed in her heart, you know. So the soldiers come up and they're like, "Oh, where are they? Do you know where they are?" And she said, "I don't know who these men you speak of." And she had hidden them. So she saved their life because she saved those prophets' life. They said to her before leaving, "Before we leave, throw a scarlet rope out your window. When you throw the scarlet rope out of your window, it's going to be a symbol, a sign, and the Lord will look down on it and he will see it and he will save you and that's going to be a symbol of God's power, manifesting in your life. And so she could have taken that, but instead she actually challenged it even more, showing how much she actually did believe in God, because she actually said, "But what about my family? Will they too be saved?" And they said, "Because of your faith, they'll be saved as well."
That's right.
This
Yeah.
ultimately a depiction of what God was going to do in the future. The scarlet being poured out, like the scarlet thrown out of the window, hanging, right? Represent pouring out his blood, his scarlet blood, as the Bible refers to it. And ultimately, not only just saving a person, but saving a plethora of people, a whole quote unquote. And that is ultimately where we came with the band name Saved by Scarlet, and then we put a K because K looks cool and C doesn't.
That's cool.
Apparently, we thought we were edgy, and we don't know how to spell.
No,
Yeah, there we
guys,
go.
not for
Okay.
education, but marketing, and it works.
Well, it is, and it's unique. Yeah, people remember.
Alex.
Oh man. Yeah, so what year did you all like just become a band, and what year did you all start releasing music? Like how long did you all write before you started releasing music, and then how'd that process go?
My brother and I created Out of Darkness album. That was the first album. That was in 2017 that we started the process. We released it in 2019, 2 years later. And then in the interim, after Out of Darkness, and he came on board. We asked him to feature as a bassist actually in our music video for The Syndrome.
Yep.
And he did a great job, and we loved his energy, we loved his passion, and despite not really knowing what he believed at that time or kind of growing at that time, he was definitely, I mean, I'll let you talk more about that later, Alex, but it was definitely, like he said, it was a God appointed time for sure.
Awesome.
And then our new EP with Alex on the full EP from
Yep.
and Dallin and myself and Matt, obviously. So that EP dropped March 29th, 2024, so just recently. And that is actually the first published album that we have that has our new group together.
So the Out of the Darkness was your first incarnation of the band, and now, so now you just dropped this one. That's awesome. So I imagine with this being an EP, you're working on a full length album, LP.
We'll see what happens. Spend time is difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I know. I feel like I've been seeing Saved by Scarlet. This EP is kind of all over the place. Congratulations for that. I know I've listened to it several times myself on Spotify. And I mean, for this to be your first like official release, or however you want to say it, man, y'all got over almost 10,000 listeners on Spotify right now, and that's awesome. Y'all are doing something right.
Yeah, we're super, super excited.
See, I like with the EP, from Out of Darkness to Creation and Crisis, you can see the maturity that slowly started to form in the EP. The way it's changed, not only just, in sound, but even lyrically, the message is a little tighter as well.
Sure.
And I like a lot of the progressions that come with the new EP.
Awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about the recording process. I know that a lot of times we don't dive into like what recording is like, but it seems like everybody has a different answer. What do you all start with? Even with writing, what do you all start with when you write? And then also, as far as recording, how was that? Like getting in the studio, recording, like did it take forever per song, or was it pretty quick? Let's kind of that.
I'm gonna answer very honestly. Oh, I have to be careful.
It's okay.
So, I'm a very business-like person. Like I really nice, clear communication. I really like, we're doing this, that, blah, 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 just step by step, because of how little I had that with the first album. We were in very like it was very difficult. There were certain people in our life that were exiting who were going to be like featured on the album, and then like and just there's a lot. So like Alex said, this one was a lot tighter because we had full-time jobs. We were able to actually, you know, like put more money and quality into it and time and effort. But
There's a lot of consistency in it.
yeah, definitely. But the studio process was actually interesting. We ended up being able to follow a plan that I essentially kind of created, which I mean, I'm not the origin creator per se. There are a lot of people who essentially like do marketing. They talk about how you're supposed to release one single first.
Right.
Once you release another single that starts bringing people into your Spotify page, it starts getting organic, healthy growth. And then once you have that, when you release the actual full-length album or EP, you'll have a lot more people who are ready and already have your music. If they got the taste, and if they like it, then they're more likely to be a trusted listener, as they call it. A trusted listener stays with the music. So it's a consistent follower. It's not like a spike and then drop. Stay.
Right.
So because we followed that plan, that's why Creation Crisis is doing as well as it is. Lie of the Pharisees hit 128,000 organic listens within 7 months.
Wow.
Where that took a year, but it hit 110,000. And Creation Crisis is on its way, man. It's rising up on radio charts, and it should hit top 25 globally within, I'd say, at least a month at the way it's trending. So, you know, like there's a lot of different ways that we started that process in the studio for actually recording. And Alex, I'll let you share the guitar stuff. But as far as like lyrically and like vocals wise, my stuff, it started with me writing the first song, Black Knight, on the album that we created. I pretty much will just do, it's gonna sound funny, but I get most of my inspiration for songs in sounds in my head from when I'm sleeping and I wake up in the middle of the night, or when I'm going to bed. I'll tell you how many times I've sat with my wife in bed and been like, hold on. And I'll be like making noises, and she's like, what are you doing? And then even with that, you know, she has actually contributed to lyrics on our on our she's got about 5 sentences all together that she helped me with that are great. Love them. She was a great help with that. Total on the EP. A couple of spots that I was like, man, I can't. I've written all this stuff down, but I just like I feel like there's something I need here. So sometimes having an outside voice can help you kind of, you know, fresh stuff. You know, it's good to have, like, I'm a firm believer in having a fresh perspective from someone outside of the box looking in.
Was it all recorded locally there in Rhode Island?
What'd you say?
Was it all recorded locally for you?
Yep, it was in where in Connecticut? I'm trying to think. Starts with an H. Can't think of it.
That's fine. I didn't know if y'all use, like a lot of people use you know, for especially for production and all this, if y'all did everything locally or if you sent them off somewhere to record.
There, but it was in Connecticut, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
And then once we had all of the lyrics and stuff written, I would present it to the band. We'd work with it as a team in the band room. We'd kind of develop it. They would, you know, give their input, and Alex and Matt did a lot of the guitar creation, and Dallin had a lot going on, so he followed suit a lot of the time with kind of like what we wanted. And he also had just recently joined the band, so he was still learning to our style. And then the actual vocal studio process was the boys did like all of the instruments and synths and everything. I did synth programming, orchestral instruments, and laid in the background. And then I did vocals and effects and screams, all probably 3 different trips separate from the overnight trip that Alex and Matt and Dallin did, in which they tracked actual instruments.
Yeah, super cool. So, I know of at least 2 music videos plus like lyric videos and stuff like that. So, let's talk about your music videos real quick. and just describe whatever you want about them, what the process was like making them, and what you were trying to get across with those videos.
Alex, you want to take that one with the syndrome?
So the syndrome is basically what we were trying to do with that was a lot of the syndrome talked about, healing in that matter. So, the only way to find healing is through Christ. And, that hospital scene where it had the patient in the bed, and Jesus comes in, and this is actually my favorite part through this video, is the patient is sick in bed and possibly dying, and Jesus used his blood to transfer through the IV and into him, into the patient, and that is a form of, that in itself is a very powerful message.
For sure.
And with that, we were trying to give people, like, give that effect and show people, that through Christ, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And sickness and disease is tough, man. It's so hard, like with chronic stuff. It's so hard, man, because it's like in your face every day,
Yeah.
Oh, there are people that lose hope because of that. There are people that lose hope. There are people that feel like they're never going to get out of this constant state. So, seeing at least one of the hopes that I would have had would be if someone saw that and they were struggling with that they would find, that center in them, to be able to pull and fight back and receive that blessing through Christ.
100%, man. Good job, Alex. That was a great.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Y'all, so are you playing shows locally? Do you have any plans to tour on or for the CP at all?
Oh, it would be awesome to tour. We're not really sure yet. We have a lot of different festivals that we're performing at. So some of them are like Soul Fest Music Festival in Greenfield, Mass. That's August 16th.
Nice.
Happy Festival with Skillet, Lacey Sturm, Red, Impending Doom, Catch Your Till I Wake, Gideon, a ton of more, nothing more.
You had me at an Impending Doom. You had me there.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, absolutely.
That's on my bucket list to see right there.
I'm just glad Cold's playing there because that's one of the other bands that I grew up listening to.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's exciting. That's going to be June 29th. Carrying it up at that festival. We sold over 230 tickets, so that was amazing. And then we're performing at, not supposed to say this, but Uprise Festival in Pennsylvania, which is exciting.
Don't worry, nobody watches this. So we've only got 50,000 people in the nothing to worry about.
Right, nothing at all.
They're pretty. But yeah, so we'll be at Uprise on September 14th this year. That's super exciting. They've got 30,000 people that come through, so that's going to be amazing. Seventh Day Slumber, Disciple, Tadashi, and a bunch of other artists have already been confirmed. So we're excited for you. And then we're working on some local and regional shows again, as usual, within Worcester, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island areas. Nice. But we don't have enough close enough together to do like a chain tour. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So, it's probably for the best. I ended up partially injuring myself due to a lot of effects through life stuff, studio complications, allergies, complications. It just wreaked havoc on my voice. You can now it's a little gritty, but so keep me in prayer, please. But I'm in recovery mode, so I'm just staying strong, man, and just glad that the EP got out before I got hit with all this. I got COVID,
Gee.
Man,
sinus infection.
those festivals are awesome because you get to play in front of a lot of people at one time.
Oh yeah.
Instead of playing in front of a few people on multiple dates. So that's awesome that you got those connections there and all got booked.
If there's one thing that like we do and we do really well, and there are a couple of like promoters and people who want to book us within the area, but we actually don't do it. And part of the reason is because like there's two different classifications of bands, in my own personal opinion. No, three, sorry. The first one is bands that they haven't invested enough quality time, quality digital artwork, quality music art, and quality saving. How do I say this without like offending? Kind of being more like wise as to what you do, but when you do it, pack it with an absolute punch. So there are those kinds of, and then there are bands that really they're okay with just doing a ton of gigs, just kind of in like, like up to par, but like that's kind of it. And not festivals and things like that. So, and having like subpar like studio quality. So the one is the bands who they're making it really big, or they have like a good amount of money to use in order to sustain themselves, in order to do things like tours while booming on Spotify and everything, doing promo and all that, while also still having quality music and things that do, take time and effort. So there's those different types, and we're the second one. So we really have made a point of, while we recognize that most of us are poor,
I understand that
the music that we're putting out in the shows we do, that all of it is successful.
Right.
And that comes with wisdom and knowing where to hit, not as many punches, but just making sure the one punch you give is really going out.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Better getting to number 3. So that's what we're working on.
I know you say you're really poor as a band, but it's our understanding that the bass player makes all the money. Is that true?
It's practically non-existent these days.
I know, right? So man,
things didn't work out with scheduling. He just got a new job. He might have been moving. It just was not working out. There were a lot of like conflicts. It just like, and nothing against him. He was a great guy. In fact, we might be doing it in Providence this October-ish.
I was just talking about in general, bass players get a bad rap anyways. That's what I meant.
Well, the funny, we actually have, we just basically record the bass ourselves organically. Okay. And then we backtrack, man. So it's like we're, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, with the technology, you can definitely do that for sure.
And it's worth it, honestly, because we love bass. If we could have a committed bass player who matched our style and everything and could actually play it physically, absolutely love that. But we have not found someone who is able to meet all that criteria, and it's just not worth. You divide a payment up by 5 people too, and it's like hard enough to get the place.
Joke.
Hotels are like up to $200 a night now. It's insane.
Oh. Yeah.
That's true. Wow.
I'm just speaking, dude. I'm just being real. Like, I'm not gonna go to anything.
Man, it's crazy. So, I know you have like a short time, but I'm thinking about just some of your musical influences as far as the album. I know we talked about what genre you might be, but like what kind of stuff as far as musically inspires your work? What kind of bands are you listening to on a regular basis, or things like that, Christian and secular, actually?
I mean, as far as I've already told you my influences. Nate, come on, go ahead. What are you listening
to? Definitely, Memphis Mayfire is a big one. Wage War is one.
Yeah, Wage War. The shirt, man.
Oh yeah. This show was amazing, bro. Amazing. One of the best nights of my life. The show was absolutely off.
Yeah, they're so good, dude. So
You
good.
know, you know stuff's gonna get real when he pulls out his Wage War shirt, his lucky Wage War shirt. Never fails.
That's
Never
funny.
fails.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, those are my biggest. Linkin Park, Red, Skillet, and Memphis Mayfire are like my biggest. Those are my pillars.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I know we talked about gent music, and I know that like there's so much. I think Meshuggah and bands like Meshuggah and Periphery definitely have been. They were like that whole wave reminds me of when the big four of thrash, like Metallica, Anthrax, and them, in the 80s, like when the way they changed metal. I think Meshuggah and bands like that, maybe Sepultura with like some of the new metal stuff, those kind of bands, I think shaped
I'd
the.
say a lot of Megadeth also created the pillar for, you know, a lot of metal in that area, a lot of metal in that genre. I mean,
Mhm,
everyone talks about Metallica,
mhm.
but you don't really hear bands like Megadeth. You don't really hear bands like Queensryche.
Right.
You don't
Yeah,
really hear it.
Meshuggah is awesome, by the way. We get a little bit of influence on our different parts and stuff. Tempo changes, as I'm sure you. I don't know if you guys listen to the whole
Yeah. Yeah.
changes. We got some gen parts and little things, and there's a whole lot more where that came from. You should see our drummer. He's
Oh,
incredible.
Oh
oh,
yeah, everything sounds great, just the studio stuff for sure. But yeah, I mean that I always find it interesting when people do draw from those influences, especially bands that um have a bunch of different influences. I know you all talked about ballads and using ballads. Though ballads is even in of itself, like we talking about this, we're talking about jam, but let's talk about ballads too. Like what how do ballads play into this, and what got you all into doing that, and how does that fit into metal?
Oh man, dude, I love ballads so much. My brother worshiped for 10 years at like tons of different churches, and like there's kind of a lot of, I guess you can kind of cross worship contemporary into ballads is kind of
Hmm.
something. But man, I just like sometimes slowing it down and like playing piano like I did with Surrender All and just
Hmm.
write back and sing and focus on the lyrics. Hard rock and metalcore, it's very upbeat, but like you can kind of soak it in a little bit more, and there's more room to breathe in
Yeah.
ballads. I really like to express myself and the words that I want to say in those ballads in that way, through ballads, and a lot of that has to do with ultimately what I'm kind of feeling deep down, or or what I think people need to hear. And same with Alex. I know that he contributed to and has contributed to a lot of different things. He plays guitar for the ballads Surrender All that we do as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's
It's
such
fun.
an amazing.
It's very fun to play. I mean, not only on rhythm, but I mean, there's some lead. I'm sure Matt can fully agree with me on this. There's some lead parts that Matt does, and it's a fun song all in all. Even vocally, I'm sure Nate will agree. There's one scream part in that song, but it blends like very well to what's going on,
Hmm.
and it gives that little spice of pepper.
It sure does, man. The first time our fans saw us do Surrender All live, it's all like it's a huge, huge buildup of a song. The whole song is just building and building and building with the instruments, the energy, and just all of it. And then all of a sudden, at the dropout at the second chorus when it goes surrender, with that scream, and then just the echo followed by piano. Dude,
Hmm.
you don't see that often, man. Like, honestly, I'm not even saying that to toot our horn, but when other bands do that, which is very rare, I
Hmm.
love that. I think bands should do it more often. I think it's something beautiful about it.
The thing that gets me though is it's actually timed perfectly. I mean, I've heard some bands who try to put in screams that really shouldn't be there. It's like adding techno to like you know exactly what I'm talking. There's some
Yeah.
bands will add techno at the worst time possible, and I'll be like, waited, could you?
Yeah, that's a lot of industrial bands for sure. They'll throw that little techno break in there in a minute for sure.
yeah.
I see Nate's little. I like that. that his little screen, like when he's off screen, you see still
Screensaver.
By Scarlet, the band picture and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I know he was talking about his favorite show was Wage War. What would be your favorite concert you've been to ever?
Oh man. Okay. So this is Capulet last year. Famous Last Words.
Mhm.
First time I saw them ever, and I grew up listening to them. I
Mhm.
was freaking out when I figured when actually no, that's hard. That's really hard because All That Remains. It was between All That
Oh, yeah.
and because Phil is amazing. And then you have JT from Famous Last Words, and I was just blown away by both bands. They actually, I remember Capulet last year. Uh, I was a little nervous because I was hearing something about All That Remains pulled out, and I was like,
Oh.
Oh no.
I freaked out, and I was like, oh. So Nate's laughing. He's like, I practically had a heart attack, but so finally, like I'm like, oh man. So I'm sitting at the merch booth and I'm like, oh man, they pulled out. Nate finally calls me up. He's like, dude, you have to get over to the main stage right now. All That Remains is playing right now.
Oh.
I don't think I could have got up fast enough and bolted from I was at the second stage.
Mhm.
Uh and we had the merch booth, over there. I couldn't have got up fast enough to
Wow.
bolt to the main stage. Literally ran to the main stage.
That's crazy.
It was great. It was
That's awesome,
amazing.
man.
Oh man. So I know that we talked about Christianity some. Um so as a band, is everyone in the band Christian? You consider yourselves Christians in a band or a Christian band? I know that,
Yeah.
like I said, I know religion is definitely a big part of what you all do for sure. Um,
We are all we are all born again Christians.
cool.
We pray before every practice, we pray. It
Mhm.
started with Christ and we end this with Christ every time.
Nice.
Nice.
And we've never strayed from that. Even before we hit the set, we have a whole we it's the prayer circle. And
Mhm.
we had the prayer circle, the prayer huddle. Uh everything that we do has started with Christ. And that's we are why not give it back to him?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. Yeah,
Cool.
that's awesome.
I
So
love it.
what kind of plans do you have, for the future? I know you just released an EP or whatever. Are you just kind of riding on that right now, or are you kind of, what do you have anything else planned?
Um, we have a lot of shows planned this upcoming year
Nice.
so far, and we have been building progress. As far as making a full length album, like an LP,
Mhm.
um, like I've said, we're gonna leave this up to God and see what He
Right.
does with it. And if we're, you know,
Are you
and if
are you
we're lucky,
shopping it? Are you shopping the EP to record labels?
excuse me.
So
Are you
I'm actually
shopping the EP to record labels? Is what I said.
I'm still on the camera. By the way, I just want to let you guys know I'm driving, so I'm just doing the audio. But
Gotcha.
we actually have had some record label deals. We've had several,
Oh wow.
probably a total of about 20. Um, we've actually turned down every one of them because what they were offering was what I already know how to do as a manager. Um,
Okay.
so
Smart.
we essentially decided to go the cheaper route naturally. And I also really enjoy because of my type of job, I am able to use the computer for quite a while. So I just work that in, and hopefully in the future it would be nice to have a record deal with Tooth and Nail or Solid State Records or something. That would be really amazing, but we'll see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing. So you know what? I'll ask this. I know we just talked about the Christian thing for sure and just being a Christian, but what is your favorite thing about being a Christian? And you know what? Let's go on and add this. What's your favorite thing about metal?
There you go.
Were you asking me or Alex? Sorry.
Both of
You can go.
you.
You go first, Nate.
Personally, I would say my favorite thing about being a Christian is, honestly, man, Christian is just a label. It's just a word. The actions are what dictate who you are. I truly believe that. You know, we use the term Christian to, like, okay, so if your actions are this and you say you believe this, then you are this. The Bible says if you believe in me and you believe that my son died on the cross for your sins and you show my love through your actions, then you're my child. And man, I would never want to be far away from my dad's arms. Like, I love God. I fully believe he's real. I fully believe in his word. I may not understand everything. There have been some things in my life that I have huge question marks, but I don't need to know everything, man. And part of the reason that I love, trusting in God is because there's so much strength in surrendering to a God that loves. Because when you do that, if you truly believe that, you know that everything that happens there on out is because he loves you and because he cares about you. And you know what? Some things are difficult, but diamonds aren't made, dude, on the couch. Diamonds are made when they're in the rough. And so I'm okay with that. Like that's where I'm at. Like I see so many people go through stuff and they pull away from God instead of running to him.
Yeah.
And you could just see what happens to them. And any human, we are all capable of falling into that enemy's snare, So I'm not saying it's easy. It is very difficult sometimes. But man, it is just so worth it. God's blessing, God's miracles in my life. I mean, when I didn't really want to live anymore, God gave me a literal physical miracle. I'll have to share that sometime, but and it was miraculous. And like I never had it before and I've never had it since. So it's not something that's common, but it really is incredible. And knowing that God loves you as a person, an individual, he's not bound by anything. He's not bound by peer pressure. He's not bound by societal norms. He is not bound by anything because he is in everything. And just because that is so, there is so much safety and security in being in God's arms and knowing that you're going to have an eternal life. That is the best part of being a Christian, in my opinion.
Awesome.
All
right. So what about metal? Let's talk about what's your favorite thing about metal?
Oh, I like granite.
Yeah, granite is awesome.
I like the punch that it has. I like the community. One is very friendly. The community in metal, not even just Christian metal, like metal alone. As you go up to a big dude, like a big headbanging metalhead, you're in the pit, you get pushed down. He's the first guy pulling you back up. That's amazing. That is so respectable, and I love it. I love the punch that it has. And a lot of people, whenever they go into a pit, especially if they're not metalheads, they think they're gonna kill him. But no, it's just your basic. It's pushing and shoving a little bit, but it's almost like it's almost like a little bit of roughhousing when you're like your kid years and you're roughhousing around the house. It's almost like it's brotherly love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've definitely experienced that as well.
The pit, yeah.
Awesome.
And especially with the Christian community, what I like about that, especially with Christian metal, is they take the time to pray over you. They take the time and the pit. Okay, I say with regular metal, it depends on the show. If you're going to like a body snatchers show and the pits get rowdy and nuts, or if you're going to a knocked loose concert, so and the pits are brutal.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Or a body count. They're literally counting the bodies.
Body count, and or Slipknot pits. I mean, back then, I'm not exactly a big fan of. I'm not exactly a big fan of newer Slipknot. Honestly, I miss the older style.
Man,
I miss the
now
older
the
version.
Eloy's there, they're gonna come back. Trust me.
Oh, you think so? All right.
Eloy is going to like Eloy is I think he's a perfect match so far.
Absolutely.
I miss Joey. Of course I miss Joey.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss Jay as well. I wish it could have been handled a little bit better.
Right.
But, I get it.
I've seen some videos of some of their pits, and they were pretty insane.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
And then you have the older bands like Guar and
Oh Lord, yeah, their concerts are crazy. I still have syrup on one of my shirts.
Did you say for today?
Huh?
No.
Did you say for today?
Oh no, Guar.
Guar.
Oh yeah.
A little different.
And see, here's the thing: a lot of what Saved by Scarlet is it's modern day metalcore, but my heart will always be a 2000s metalcore kid.
Okay, nice.
Like I love a lot of In Flames. I love a lot of Killswitch Engage. I love a lot of well, even back further, Black Label Society.
Oh yeah, Zach Wild, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of
even though you can't understand him, the music.
Oh man, but on guitar, dude,
guitar is awesome, but he's harder to understand than Ozzy's, I think.
Oh.
Well, okay, that.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, my favorite, just as a note, my favorite Black Label, or should I say, my favorite Zach songs are when he's teamed up a lot with Dream Theater's ex-keyboardist Derek Sherinian.
Yeah.
And check out that stuff.
One of my favorite songs, one of my all-time favorite songs from Black Label Society. I'm actually in another band called Fall of Atlantis, where my guitarist for that one, Rob, his favorite song, I think, is Stillborn. But mine will always be, it's got to be In This River, his tribute to Dimebag Darrell when he died. That will by far be my favorite song by Black Label.
Nice. That's awesome. So, just kind of wrap it up here. What can the Christian metal community do to help Saved by Skarlet?
I'll answer this one, even though I'm just a still picture right now. Well, I'd answer your question before. Sorry, I totally forgot. I love metal because it has a lot of energy. It's moving really quickly usually. There are a lot of changes. It's not predictable. Well, unless you're a certain band that I won't say. But it's not supposed to be super predictable. And there's a lot of subgenres for it. Honestly, I really like it. I really like that metal has a lot of things mixed within it. I think that's really great. I think it keeps it diverse and interesting. And I also think of it this way. If you listen to soft music, the soft music usually just stays soft. I like metal because it has a wide range. It can go really soft. It can go really high. It can go up to the point of it like excruciatingly high where it's like screaming and breakdowns and stuff all the way back down, just like Alex was saying regarding mosh pits and praying. So I really like that. That's my favorite part about metal.
Nice.
See, another thing with this is a lot of where metal started from. I'm big on blues. I love B.B. King. B.B. King is one of my favorite. And a lot of jazz. It's a lot of what metal started from was a lot of jazz drumming mixed with blues style guitar. And that was the base and the roots of how metal became metal.
That was
because
Black Sabbath all the way. That was all the way Black Sabbath.
like that's exactly what Black Sabbath did. And it was phenomenal. It was something different. It was something different for the people, and it worked for years and evolved into something that created the metal that we know and love today.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And what people can do to help Saved by Scarlet, and answer your last question, honestly, just hit that follow button, like button, on Spotify, Facebook, so that you'll be able to see, the different music that we have coming out. Go stream the new EP, take a listen to our music. If you like it, then it's something that'll be enjoyment for you. It'll benefit you, and it'll benefit us too, because it'll help us keep going and secure that algorithm,
and can people buy physical CDs and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, we have a website with a merch page. My wife and I handle all the merch orders. So if you guys want to buy a physical CD album, we've got that too. We
Nice.
we don't ship them signed, but what we do is, because they have saran wrap packaging, they're sealed. So what we do is we tell fans, hey, we'll sign them if you bring them, in person at our shows, or if you buy them at the merch booths at our shows.
Oh, that's a good idea. Awesome. Well, love it, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man, and I will put all your website contact information here. Y'all go check out Saved by Skarlet, and if you haven't heard them, you're going to hear them because they're all over the place now. So that's awesome, man. I appreciate everything.
Yes,
Hope y'all have a great day.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Thank you very
guys
much for having us.
Mm-hmm.